Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Namaskar. Welcome to this very important e-conference on harnessing the power of cooperatives. And as we are all aware that cooperatives are people-centric enterprises which are owned by people. They are controlled and run by and for their members, and they all realize the common economic, social, and cultural needs as well as aspirations of the local community. And if you see the history of cooperatives in India, it goes back to more than 100 years. And the cooperatives, they continue to stay relevant even today also due to their grassroots reach and ability to bring the economic growth to the undeserved sections. They actually can cater to the last mile customer or last mile consumer or stakeholder of our country. And as we know, as per the Cooperatives Act 1912, the provision states that at least 10 people above the age of 18 years, they can all enter into a contract with common economic objectives, maybe like farming, weaving, or dairy, and they can form a cooperative society. And of late, in order to boost the momentum of cooperatives, we have the new Ministry of Cooperation. And the rationale of this ministry is to provide a separate administrative, legal, and policy framework to strengthen the cooperative movement in the country. And as we know that since we have the domain experts who will be dwelling on the important facets of the cooperative, how we can actually strengthen our cooperative movement in India. And India being more of an agrarian economy, and as we know that the rural penetration is close to 65 to 70%. So it's very important that we need to give a strong nudge for the cooperative movement in India. So in order to understand the nuances, we have the learned people in this platform who will give us insights how to actually walk the talk rather than a knowledge session. They are all experienced people who will be telling about the experiences, and we will definitely the rationale of this e-conferences that will be coming out with a white paper. We will get your suggestions also, and then we will submit to NCUI, to NCDC, as well as the Ministry of Cooperation. So without any further ado, I would request Mr. Saket Dalmia, the President of PhD Chamber of Commerce Industry, to kindly start the deliberations with his welcome address. Over to you, Saket, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Saab. A very warm welcome, a rainy welcome for those who are from Delhi. Thank you so much, Mr. Sunil Kumar Singh ji, Additional Managing Director, NAFED, Dr. Datta, Mentor, Development Sectorial Organizations, Mr. Tarun Bhargava ji, GM, IFCO, Mr. Sanjay Verma ji, Deputy Director, National Cooperative Union of India, Professor Bhatt from the Allahabad Central University, Professor Upadhyay ji from Birla Institute of Management Technology, Professor K.K. Sharma ji, Jawaharlal Nehru University, Mr. R.P. Singh ji, Chair of our PhD HR Committee, and ladies and gentlemen. First of all, thank you so much for making it here today. I must say, when I read the headlines, harnessing the power of cooperatives, being from the private sector myself, I was very enticed to think about how I can take advantage of actually the power of cooperatives. Just before we started this session, we were discussing informally that we have Amul in front of us, we have NAFED in front of us, we have IFCO in front of us. For one item, I have been a consumer. For one item, for IFCO, I have been a service provider. So we have touched these companies in our lives, but the power of these cooperatives really came to light for me when I was just simply assisting my daughter who was in grade 12 4-5 years ago. And I delved into what IFCO and NAFED was when she was doing a paper on cooperatives. Honestly speaking, it blew my mind away. I did not realize till that day the depth to which cooperatives operate in India, the scale at which they operate, and the diversity which they manage with a commercially socio objective, which is probably truly outstanding, overwhelming for me. And so when we talk about harnessing the power of cooperatives, I think there is a lot to learn with such huge organizations. And today, private enterprise are talking about penetrating into tier 3, tier 4, and tier 5 cities to really scale up their operations and penetrate into rural India and get a part of the market share. Whereas we have cooperatives which actually started from tier 5, then went to 4, and went to 3, and coming into cities. So their deep understanding and their way of working is truly remarkable to understand and at times emulate going forward. So if I were to just simply measure the scale of cooperatives in India, if I'm to understand correctly, there are more than 8.5 lakh cooperatives with 29 crore members in the country. That they cover 98% of India's 1 lakh crore rural economy. That's simply amazing. And the world's two leading cooperatives based on ratio of turnover over GDP per capita are IFCO and GCMMF. So I think we are presuming the right thing by saying that they are simply massive organizations with great energy, great learning, and great success stories for all of us to learn going forward. And I would request all our stakeholders today, all our esteemed guests today, to continue to be connected to PhD, because PhD consists of primarily medium and small enterprises and even micro and some large. And we have an opportunity for great learning from cooperatives like you. So thank you once again for being on this platform. And we really look to learn something today. And over to you, Jatinderji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your welcome remarks. And in fact, you have laid the foundation of this e-conference. As you said that the in terms of the size of cooperatives, it's unimaginable, and it's only the opportunity, or you can say the opportunities are immense, and the constraint lies only within us in terms of expansion. Expansion can be huge, it can be mammoth, and considering the size of our country as well as demographics, in fact, we are sitting on a gold mine. So thank you very much, sir, for bringing all these important points. And with this, I'd like to invite Mr. R.P. Singh. Mr. R.P. Singh is the chair of our HRIR committee at PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry. He is also the director, HR and legal at IFCO. Over to you, sir. Sir. Yeah, please unmute.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning, sir.
I'm really grateful for me to be invited on this occasion. I'm sorry, I'm traveling in a car right now in Gujarat at Kandla Port. So sometimes I may not be audible or may not be visible. So I beg excuse for that. As far as this conference is concerned, it has been organized as a very moment, and I must thank PhD for that. The cooperatives in India had been always demanding that there should be a separate ministry for cooperatives, because as a part of agriculture department, the future of cooperatives and the interest of cooperatives was considered as a sort of subsidiary or a very, I would say, neglected kind of interest. So we are happy that this government has taken this initiative of forming a separate Ministry of Cooperative, and the charge has been given to the most dynamic Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shahji. And now we are full of hope and we have great expectations from this new ministry. So in this background, what we are organizing today, what PhD is, राजेश से बात, उससे बोल दीजिए मैं बात कर रहा हूँ.
I think there is some connectivity issue.
Hello.
JJ sir, please go ahead. I think some connectivity issue. We will try to get him back.
I think we can move ahead.
JJ, because since he is traveling in Gujarat, as he said, might be some connectivity issues. No issues. So in fact, we will have Mr. RP Singh again. And with this, now I'd like to welcome Dr. Subrokamal Datta. Dr. Datta is a renowned media celebrity on foreign policy, on political and economic expert. He was the youngest team member of the Vajpayee government, and he's also the chairman of Global Council for Peace, senior advisor to World Association of Small and Medium Enterprises, which is known as WASME. He is also visiting fellow to several government and private institutions and universities across India. Also a renowned TV commentator to several news channels. Many times we see him in the Republic TV, NewsX, and many other media channels. He is also a columnist to several English and Hindi national newspapers, journals, and magazines. So I request Dr. Datta to kindly share his expertise, his deliberations with the August audience. Over to you, Dr. Datta.
Good morning, Dr. Jatinder Singh.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Singh, and all my other esteemed panelists. It's a pleasure being with you all, and I really thank PhD for organizing such an important seminar on such an important issue. And PhD is known for organizing seminars and conferences on important and relevant issues as such. So, am I audible? Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Am I? Okay. So, like I would say that the cooperative movement
Please go ahead.
in our country is something which is not new as such. The cooperative movement in our country is something which is not new. In fact, I would like to take you all back to ancient India. I'm talking about a period.
You can connect from your next second device if there's some issue. Maybe you are joined from two devices. That may be the issue, sir.
No, I am with one only, but just a second, please. Hello.
Yeah, Dr. Datta, I think you have connected from two devices. That may be the issue.
Datta Sahab, your voice is cracking a bit actually.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but you know the voice is cracking slightly. Maybe if you turn on audio, maybe adjust a little bit, maybe 2 points down. Just try that.
Is it fine now? Am I audible now?
Better than before. Please go ahead.
Well, what I'm saying is like I would like to take you all back to our ancient Indian civilization, because we do have a lot of information about about organizations similar to the cooperatives in ancient India. I'm talking about the period between 6th century to 4th century BC. That is the time when we have these republics here in India, smaller republics, and very many republics were there in ancient India, democratic republics. It was during that time when we had this concept of Sabha and the Samiti. In the Sabha and the Samiti, this were actually collective movement of the people of ancient India in those republics, and in those Sabha and Samiti, besides the political deliberations, all other economic and trade related associations were all performed, and these were all activated as such. So that is the hello. Am I audible? Can you hear me, please? Hello? Hello? Am I audible? Hello? 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 Am I audible? Hello? Hello? Am I audible? Can you all hear me? Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, right.
We can hear you.
I do see fluctuations in the screen, so it becomes difficult for me to understand whether I'm audible or not. But what I'm saying is, like in those ancient times, in ancient India, somewhere between 6th and 4th century BC, like when we had these concepts of republics, of democratic republics, there were almost around 16 to 20 republics in ancient India. Now, in those republics, we had this notion of the Sabha and the Samiti. Now, in those Sabha and the Samiti, besides the political deliberations and the political activities, all the trade-related activities, people-to-people interaction and cooperative activities used to take place, including financial transactions and economic activities as such. So there is a system of a kind in ancient India, which is very similar to the present cooperative movement in our country. So this concept is a very ancient concept for us. During the time of the British rule, when the British were in power, the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, always spoke about collective leadership or about cooperative leadership as such, and it is from there that this whole notion of the cooperative movement in a modern sense of the term started taking place. Gandhiji always spoke about the role of the panchayati system, the panchayati raj, and the cooperative system as such, and he, in his famous deliberations in relation to developmental economics, if you go through his, his selected works, there are volumes in which he speaks about the
Dr. Datta, your voice is cracking. Dr. Datta, I hope the other panelists, are you able to listen to him clearly?
Dr. Datta, you can put the mic. You can put the mic near your when you speak near your face. That will be good. Yeah.
You can put your mic near to your face. I think that will suffice.
Am I audible now? Can you hear me?
Or Dr. Datta, you can join from your mobile phone if that is okay.
Okay, then in that case, I have to connect from mobile. You just excuse me for 2 minutes.
You have to unmute, Dr. Datta. Please unmute your device. Right. So meanwhile, Dr. Datta, you can fix up your gadget. We have Mr. RP Singh who has joined again. I hope, sir, now the connectivity is okay. So I'll request you to kindly share your deliberations meanwhile. Please unmute, sir. Please unmute.
Yeah, thank you very much. And
Thank you,
I'm
sir.
really very sorry for getting interrupted by my own device. So what I was going to speak about is that, of course, the cooperatives, some of them have achieved wonders, but the fact of the matter is that cooperatives are known more for its failures than successes. So the examples of success are few and far between. Of course, IFCO, CRIPCO, Amul, and organizations like that are there, but we need to ponder over the issue and find out solutions for other cooperatives also to succeed. And I'm sure this conference, and there is another conference that IFCO will be organizing on 25th of September, which will be a national conference. And Honorable Home Minister and Cooperation Minister will also be the chief guest in that conference on 25th of September at Indira Gandhi Indoor Stadium. So some course of action will be decided hopefully in that. What we have seen in practical implementation of these schemes run by cooperatives is that cooperative societies are not considered as body corporates in the eyes of RBI policy and some other government regulations, as a result of which the cooperatives are not able to function on an equal footing with the companies. Of course, the idea of cooperation has been there in India, prevalent since ages. But the fact of the matter is that when you talk of cooperatives, it's an organization of people formed, driven by some economic interest, and it's a mutual aid and cooperation for mutual benefit. So when we talk of mutual cooperation and mutual benefit, then the democratic principles play a very important role. And when the democratic principles play an important role, you have to have a strong mechanism to regulate how this democracy functions. So this is an area where we need to have a better regulation. And apart from that, cooperatives are basically a group of small funded people, people with small means. So at times, the cooperatives would be needing some government intervention, some government help in initial stages. And once the cooperatives become self-sustaining, then the government should withdraw its hands from running and controlling the cooperatives. It has also been experienced that the multiplicity of regulations varying from one state to another is another challenge which the cooperatives are facing. And I think there needs to be done something in this direction. Of course, the government had earlier in 2018 brought about certain constitutional amendments known as 97th Constitution Amendment, through which formation of cooperatives was made a fundamental right in the Constitution. A model cooperative law was also enacted, and it was, drafted, and it was enclosed with the constitutional amendment. And all the states were expected to adopt this model law. As we all know, cooperative is a state subject as far as administrative regulation and legislative control is concerned. So each state has its own laws. It has been seen that wherever the state regulates too much or controls too much on the cooperatives, the progress is not good. And in such states where the autonomy or liberty to cooperatives has been given, they have excelled. So the need was felt that autonomy and self-regulation should be the order of the day rather than having too much of government control. So with this aim in view, this amendment was brought about, but unfortunately, this was challenged in the Gujarat High Court on the ground that the central government could not legislate on cooperatives, which was a state subject. and therefore this law is unconstitutional. Amendment of Constitution is unconstitutional. The Gujarat High Court was pleased to uphold this petition and quash the constitutional amendment. The Union of India went to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court also, after hearing, has finally held that as far as state cooperatives are concerned, this law is constitutionally invalid. But as far as multi-state cooperative societies are concerned, the law still holds good. So today, as it stands, we are operating in a vacuum as far as states are concerned. So the status quo ante has been restored and the liberty of states has been restored. So now it's a big challenge how this uniformity in practices could be enforced as far as cooperatives are concerned. And unless those are done, I think it will be difficult for the cooperatives to grow in a very homogeneous manner all over the country. So this is an area where perhaps the government will have to take some stand, maybe some constitutional amendment bringing about cooperatives in the concurrent list and all. Having said that, let us also see what are the advantages of having cooperatives. The first advantage is that distribution of wealth is equitable amongst the shareholders, and it's not a kind of monopolistic type of organization where one entrepreneur can invest money and become a proprietor. So this is another advantage, and which is very, very good for economic sustenance in the present era where we are struggling for equitable distribution of wealth. So from that point of view, cooperatives are very good, can prove to be a very good tool. And apart from that, what we really need today is to develop the agriculture and make agriculture sustainable. This is an area where large industrialists are not finding it very interesting propositions. And to my mind, cooperatives can play a great role in this. I'm sure the conference that is being held today will ponder over all these issues and come out with certain learnings and certain recommendations that would be useful for deciding the future course of action. I wish this conference to be a successful, and I once again thank PhD Chamber and Dr. Jatinder Singh for organizing this conference. Thank you very much. All the best. As far as IFCO's performance is concerned, I think Mr. Tarun Bhargav is already there, who is an expert in cooperatives and who will explain in detail what we are doing and what cooperatives can do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Giving that 360-degree view of the cooperatives, and also you very well documented the challenges, because sometimes when we say that it's in state list, then the state gets more hold on the cooperatives. If it becomes a concurrent subject, then again there are some people say, I'm sure that with this Ministry of Cooperation, with a new dispensation, things will be streamlined, and at the end of the day, it is the last mile person or the grassroots person that should actually get benefit from all the cooperatives. And I'm sure that with organizations like NEFED, with Amul, IFCO, CRIPCO, I'm sure that we are definitely going to see the light of the day where we actually see the socio-economic development to all the people in the country. Thank you very much. And with this, I like to invite again Dr. Datta for his deliberation. Sorry, sir, I think there was some connectivity issues, I'm sure. And Dr. Datta, if there is any again bandwidth issue, you can switch off your video, then the audio becomes more clear. So, please go ahead, sir. Over to you, Dr. Datta. Please unmute. Yeah, please unmute, Dr. Datta.
am I audible now?
Yes, yes, now you're audible, sir. Perfect.
Well, sometimes technology really creates a kind of an hindrance as such, But having said that, good morning to all of you, to Mr. Dalmia, to Dr. Jatinder Singh and Mr. Singh and rest of the esteemed panelists. It is a pleasure being here with PhD, and I really appreciate PhD for organizing such a lovely conference in relation to such an important topic, and PhD is known for organizing important conferences on important issues. So congratulations to PhD for this. Now, let me come to the whole issue itself about the cooperative movement here in our country. Cooperative movement is something which is not new to India as such, and let me go down to a long time before in history, just after the Indus Valley civilization, when we had this Sabha and the Samitis in the republics of India. There were around 16 to 18 republics around that time in ancient India. I'm talking about a period between 6th century BC to 4th century BC as such, Now in those republics, we have this notion of the Sabha and the Samiti. Like in Sabha and Samiti, besides all the political deliberations, there was this notion of this ancient concept of Panchayati Raj as well as cooperative connectivity as such, Now in those Sabha and the Samiti, I mean, all the discussions in relation to financial inclusion, in relation to economic activities, in relation to the development of the local areas, all these were collectively discussed under the collective leadership of the people of those time, and a decision used to be taken in a very collective way, in a very democratic way as such, So that is something which is very, very similar to the present day cooperative movement of our country as such, So India is not unknown to this notion of cooperative movement as such. We do have historical records of it to prove that, yes, we were very much aware of the cooperative system as such. Now, having said that, during the time of the British period, when the British was ruling the country, the Indian subcontinent, that time the notion of this modern cooperative movement or the modern cooperative connectivity started during the British Raj as such. And the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi ji, always spoke about Panchayati Raj system and about cooperative system in our country. He always spoke about the connectivity of people, the connectivity of communities, the connectivity and the connective existence as such. If you study his various various deliberations in relation to developmental economics, in relation to rural India, in his several selected works as such, we do get a vivid idea about his notion about the cooperative culture in our country and about the cooperative movement and the Panchayati Raj movement, So from there, when India became independent in 1947, the government of India took a cue from the notions of Bapuji as such, and also from those ancient concepts which were there, available in our country. And we started this whole notion of this cooperative movement as such in independent India. Today, the cooperative movement of our country has become one of the largest movements in the world, and if not the largest. And many other countries have taken a cue from the India's cooperative movement and from India's cooperative system. And many countries have actually requested India for assisting them in establishing their own cooperative movements in their own country. I can cite an example of various countries of Southeast Asia, whether of Indonesia or for that matter of Malaysia. I'm very much aware that when Sukarno and Suharto were the president of Indonesia, they had requested Pandit Nehruji to send in a delegation of successful people from the cooperative movement in India to Indonesia for establishing a cooperative movement culture there in that country as such. Same was requested by the then Yugoslavia as well as by Egypt, then also by Nigeria, by Mozambique, then Rhodesia, which is present day Zambia and Zimbabwe, and many other countries of Africa and many Latin American countries also, whether it was Venezuela, whether it was Guatemala, or for that matter, Honduras or Nicaragua, Panama or any other country of the third world and the developing world as such. So in a nutshell, I would say that India has not only been a pioneer in relation to the cooperative movement here in India, but also in relation to the cooperative movement across the world as such, and today the cooperative movement of our country has become so huge that we already have the national, the national scheme as such, under which comes in NCUI and other organizations which are directly connected with the government of India. Then we have the state cooperative movements, the state cooperatives as such. And below that, we also have the cooperative movement and the cooperatives at the panchayat level, at the Gramin level, at the village level, and also at the local level. And besides that, the participation of the private entities has also been very, very huge in relation to the cooperative culture, in relation to the cooperative movement of our country. Whether we speak about NAFED, whether we speak about IFCO, or for that matter, if we speak about AMUL as such, who doesn't know about AMUL? Because right from the childhood, we all used to be so tempted for AMUL butter and for AMUL milk as such. And AMUL has become a global movement as such. It is a huge, huge success story. Similarly, it's the success stories of NAFED, or for that matter of IFCO, is also very huge. IFCO and NAFED are known throughout the world for their pioneering work in relation to the cooperative movement of our country. The contribution of the NCUI has been tremendous in relation to enhancing the cooperative movement at the national level, and also for penetrating right at the grassroots level, at the panchayat level, or for that matter at the state level as such, at the village level as such. Cooperative movement and the cooperatives in our country is a very big asset for employment generation. It generates in a huge level of employment in our country, especially for the rural and the semi-urban areas, and for the far-flung areas as such, where people actually rely a lot on the cooperative movement for employment and for sustainability as such, So like the contribution of the cooperative movement has been tremendous as such, in relation to the upliftment of the rural economy, in relation to the upliftment of the marginal societies, in relation to the upliftment of the far-flung areas, and for also generating employment to the rural areas as well as the semi-urban areas or the urban areas as such. And the three-tier, the second-tier, and the first-tier cities of our country have been benefited a lot because of cooperative movement, because of the cooperatives and the role of the cooperatives, and the amount of unemployment and the amount of employment which the cooperatives have given in all these semi-urban areas in the two-tier, three-tier, and first-tier cities is tremendous as such, But as one of the panelists was mentioning that in the initial remarks, yes, that the cooperative movement or the cooperative culture in our country, or the cooperatives in our country, generally was neglected by the previous regimes as such, and it was really unfortunate that, with such a fantastic start in the initial level in the decade of 1950s and 60s, by the time it became 1970s or late mid 60s, the role of the cooperative movement in our country gradually started dwindling, and it went down and down and down and down. And there was a complete neglect, not only by the state governments, but also by the union government as such. And the result of that was there was a huge generation of unemployment. There was a lot of chaos in the rural areas. There was an influx of the population from the rural areas into urban areas. And then we see the development of the slums in the metropolitan cities in Mumbai, Delhi, Kolkata, Bangalore, Chennai, and other places as such. One of the root causes of the urban chaos, one of the root causes of urban problems is because of the decline of the cooperative movement, because of the decline of the cooperative culture at the semi-urban areas and in the rural areas as such, and it was really, really unfortunate because of this neglect. I mean, a lot of people lost their jobs, a lot of people lost their employment, and the unemployment rate began to rise in the rural areas. And therefore, there was an influx of people for searching for greener pastures in the urban areas and for searching for jobs as such. And there was overburden in the urban areas. And then we see the ghettos and the slums in the urban areas as such. Fortunately, with the changing of the regime in 2014, and as I'm deeply associated with the present regime and with the ruling party, my association goes in very deep and very long with them. As such, I'm really, really happy that the government of India, under the Honorable Prime Minister of Shri Narendra Modi ji, has taken this initiative of enhancing and rebuilding the cooperative movement in our country. As such, this whole initiation started from 2014 onwards itself. The in-depth work and the in-depth data analysis and the in-depth methodology of how to revive the movement and how to revive the cooperative culture started from 2014 onwards. And by the second tenure of the Modi government, the Honorable Prime Minister had announced that he has every intent of reviving the rural economy of our country, because if we have to be Atmanirbhar Bharat, if we have to be Unnat Bharat, and if we have to be Digital India, Startup India, and Skill India as such, then we have to revive the rural areas. And in that rural areas, the contribution of the cooperatives, the contribution of the MSME ministry becomes tremendous, and the corporate contribution of the rural development ministry becomes very, very huge as such, together with the agriculture ministry. It is with that collective notion in mind, under the leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister, that recently, during the cabinet reshuffle, this whole study and this whole attempt, which was being pursued from 2019 onwards, this got channelized, and this got officially legalized with a separate formation of a separate ministry under the Ministry of Cooperation, under the astute leadership of the Honorable Home Minister of our country, Shri Amit Shah ji. And under this Ministry of Cooperation, I do see a huge role now for the cooperative sector of our country, now for the cooperative movement of our country. And the government of India, under the astute leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister, is very, very clear and is very, very crystal clear and very straightforward in relation to the enhancement and in relation to the upliftment of the cooperative sector of our country as such, and in that, we understand that the whole cooperative movement of our country will see a new direction as such, a new threshold as such. Several expert views and several deliberations have been requested by the Ministry of Cooperation as well as by the Government of India in relation to how to make the cooperative movement of our country more cohesive as such. Several suggestions have come in relation to the inclusion of the cooperative sector, or in relation to the inclusion of the cooperative movement into the concurrent list of the country as such. We all know that the Constitution of India provides in three lists. One is the union list, the state list, and the concurrent list. Now, if the cooperative sector comes under the concurrent list, if a final decision is taken in relation to this suggestion, then I do understand that it would come directly under the Union of India, and that would actually enhance in developing the sector further, and it would enhance in making the sector much more wide, much more vibrant, and much more economically contributing in relation to the GDP growth rate, in relation to the economic development of our country. And in my understanding, I think the government of India would be taking a call in relation to this. And perhaps if everything goes fine, then we might see the cooperative movement of our country and the cooperatives of our country coming under the concurrent list. And if it comes under the concurrent list, then the decision of the Union of India would be supreme in relation to the cooperative movement. And this would be logically, constitutionally, and legally binded to accept and to follow the decision of the government of India and go by the suggestions and by the roadmap which would be given by the government of India as such. And I think the cooperative movement in our country needs in a proper nodal agency under the union government, under the strong leadership of a capable minister, and who better than Shri Amit Shah ji for handling this whole sector as such. And I think the Prime Minister of our country has taken a very right decision in opening up a separate ministry in relation to the Ministry of Cooperation as such. And in that, I do see, like in 2022, when we would see further developments in relation to this ministry, in relation to the cooperative movement under this ministry, I do see important role being played by esteemed institutions like IFCO, by NAFAD, as well as by NCUI, and of course by PhD Chamber of Commerce. PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry can become a role model in relation to the R&D sector of the cooperative movement of our country in relation to playing a pioneering role in suggesting and advocating and giving ideas to the Union of India as well as to the Ministry of Cooperation as to how to enhance the cooperative movement and the cooperative culture in our country. And in my understanding, the role of institutions like PhD would become very, very vital in relation to this area in near future and in coming days as such, and in my understanding, we would see in much better days for the cooperative movement of our country and for the cooperative sector of our country. I do congratulate all the esteemed speakers who are playing a very important role and giving that vital contribution in relation to the cooperative sector of our country. And I wish them good luck. And it is an honor that I was being invited by the PhD Chamber for this esteemed conference. Thank you so much. I do feel privileged to share my thoughts with all of you. Thanks a lot for organizing this international seminar on cooperative movement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Datta, for your views. In fact, you have actually nailed the hail on the head itself, because wherein you have actually told us in terms of the challenges. One of the challenges, like there was decline of the cooperative culture, somewhere for 20-30 years, which resulted in massive urbanization and all the urban slums and all the problems of urbanization that we are seeing. That definitely now it seems that it stems from this decline of cooperative culture. And now with this present dispensation, we are sure that with the people who are at the helm of the affairs will definitely do some sort of reversal for this, wherein we'll see a massive cooperative movement again in India. Thank you very much, Dr. Ta, for your very, very candid views. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much.
Now with this, I'd like to invite Mr. Tarun Bhargavji, General Manager IFCO Limited, and Mr. Bhargav is BE Honors Chemical Engineering from BITS Pilani. He actually loves problem solving and process re-engineering and make processes simple to achieve time-bound results. He has worked in multidisciplinary fields like projects, commercial projects, cooperative relations, and corporate governance. With this, I'll invite Mr. Tarun Bhargav for his deliberations. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jatendra. And at the outset, I would like to thank the PhD CCI for inviting me for this forum today. My welcome to the co-panelists, co-speakers, and the leadership, and the participants of this event. Working in the cooperative sector and sensing the call of the times, I think this e-conference holds a special significance in times of COVID-19 pandemic. And today, as we all know, that cooperation and collaboration, not the competition, is the need of hour. With this, I'll start a small presentation. Here I have a PPT, and I'll just share on the screen. I hope it is visible, sir.
Yeah, it's visible, sir.
All right, thank you very much. So I'll start this presentation saying that the cooperatives for India at 75, like as our Prime Minister says, we are a nation 75 years old, and we must trust. We have to identify the trust areas, and what better than cooperatives it would have been, and very nicely presented by Mr. Datta, that we have a Ministry of Cooperation with a slogan Sehkar Se Samriddhi. And I move on to my next slide. We all know that the cooperatives are the people-centric institutions which form an integral part of Indian economy and are key drivers of socio-economic changes. And as United Nations has very aptly said that cooperatives are the vehicles to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals identified by UN, and empower the weaker sections of the society. And in India, we already know we have a very large cooperative movement, having around 8 lakh cooperatives, as told by Mr. Dalmia in the beginning. We know that the cooperatives have some salient features. They are strongly committed to the communities, governed by the cooperative principles and the values. We know there are some 7 cooperative principles defined in the Cooperative Act of India and also recognized globally. Out of these, the most important for us is the members' economic participation, which is the cooperative principle number 3. and which also drives the cooperative principle number 4, which is autonomy and independence of cooperatives, education, training, and information, cooperation amongst cooperatives, and concern for community. So all the cooperatives, whether in India or abroad, they are formed on the foundation of cooperative principles and values, which very much define the character of these institutions. They are built on inclusion and sustainability. And in India, the cooperatives are working in 25 diversified sectors, which are agriculture, which are credit, which is banking, housing. There are many more sectors, around 25 sectors in India in which we find these cooperatives working. Now, as briefly said by Mr. Datta, I'll take it forward. Indian cooperative movement started on the initiative of Government of India more than 100 years ago, divided into 5 phases. The first phase was 1900 to 1930. The Cooperative Societies Act was passed in 1912. The second phase we saw in 1930 to 50. Then 50 to 90, where the All India Rural Credit Survey was set up and NABARD was also creating, and it was created during this phase. Then we had the fourth phase, 1990 to 2002. And the fifth phase, the 2002 onwards. Like there is a MSCS Act 2002, which was formed, and after that, post that 97th Amendment of Constitution came into practice, which very much gave the right to every individual to form a cooperative. Now, as we enter the India at 75, this is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's path-breaking initiative, and we have an opportunity. The cooperatives have the opportunity to contribute to build new India, the Atmanirbhar Bharat. And also, in a historic move, a separate Ministry of Cooperation has been created by Modi government recently for realizing the vision of Sarkar Se Samriddhi. And I'm sure that this ministry will provide a separate administrative, legal, and policy framework for strengthening the cooperative movement in the country. Now, taking it forward, the points of for action, we know that a balanced society necessitates the existence of strong public and private sectors, as well as a strong cooperative, mutual, and other social and non-governmental sector. In this context, government should provide a supportive policy and legal framework consistent with the nature and function of cooperatives and guided by the cooperative values and principles, which would establish an institutional framework with the purpose of allowing for registration of cooperative in an as rapid and simple and affordable manner. Now, this is a very important point when we discuss the Multi-State Cooperative Societies Act, which is governing the cooperatives having a multi-state character. And this was one of the issues which was discussed with the Prime Minister and at a PMO level, and the reason for which the Ministry of Cooperation was formed. So I'm sure that this new Ministry of Cooperation will bring in more cooperatives in different sectors, and this will also promote policies aimed at allowing the creation of appropriate reserves, part of which at least could be indivisible and solidarity funds within the cooperatives. It will, I think, also provide for adoption of measures for the oversight of cooperatives on the terms appropriate to their nature and functions, that is, on the basis of cooperative values and principles, which respect their autonomy and are in accordance with national law practice, which are no less favorable than those. I think I am just a second. Applicable to other for the enterprise and social organization. It will, I think, also facilitate the membership of cooperatives and cooperative structures responding to the needs of cooperative members and encourage the development of cooperatives as autonomous and self-managed enterprises, which is very important, particularly in the areas where cooperatives have an important role to play or provide services that are not otherwise provided, as suggested by Mr. Datta, like MSMEs and different sectors which are impacting the rural folk of India. I'll take you forward and present IFCO, and I'm proud to be a part of India at 75 initiative of Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. IFCO is the largest fertilizer cooperative in the world. We aim at sustainable development by adopting best practices and technology-based initiatives. IFCO is working actively to end hunger and achieving food security in an inclusive and integrated way. We have launched Save the Soil campaigns. We have also tried to educate farmers on the balanced use of fertilizers. We have planted around 1 crore neem trees in India. We have Indian Farm Forestry Development Cooperative as a separate cooperative. We have Sikkim IFCO Organic Limited. And we have recently launched Sagarika, which is a seaweed extract biostimulant and nano urea. IFCO was ranked #1 cooperative in the world amongst top 300 cooperatives based on the ratio of turnover over GDP per capita. And this is an initiative of International Cooperative Alliance and Eurixe of Italy. So IFCO, what is the success story of IFCO? How IFCO is so successful amongst the cooperatives, where we find very few cooperatives being successful. So over the years, we have the core strength in fertilizers, but apart from that, we have diversified in international trading, in general insurance, establishing special economic zones, in rural telephony, farm forestry, and we have equity participation in commodity exchange. We have agrochemicals, we have diversified into food processing, organic products, rural finance, and Grameen health also. And making India Atmanirbhar Bharat, we have this produce in India to feed the world. We have fertilizers, we have agrochemicals, we have biostimulants, and we have also biofertilizers and water soluble fertilizers as a part of the kitty of our products. IFCO added one more feather to its cap by introducing nano urea, a nanotechnology based agri input to the world. This is an innovative product which will be a game changer in the world market and also help in fighting the climate change. IFCO is actively working with local, regional, as well as international cooperative institutions. And we have this vision of going from local to global. We have Mr. Aditya Yadav on the board of International Cooperative Alliance, which is the global board of International Cooperative Alliance, Brussels. And he is also a board of director of IFCO. And I'm also very proud to say that we have the first chairmanship of the International Cooperative Entrepreneurship Think Tank, which is a body of ICA having around 15 large cooperatives of the globe. IFCO has signed MOUs with the global cooperatives of the world to take to the next level of spirit of cooperation. We have signed with Kyrgyzstan, we have signed with US, we have signed with ARCO Africa. Apart from that, we have recently signed some MOUs with Brazil and Argentina for setting up the nano urea fertilizer plant in their country. And we are also in the process for signing the MOUs with few more countries in the near future. Here I present a small audio visual for all of you to see about IFCO.
India, the 7th largest country of the world, 3.28 million square kilometer area, 29 states, 22 major languages, and people with different religions is a hallmark of its diversity. This is the proud Indian tricolor. The green in tricolor shows the fertility, growth, and auspiciousness of the land. Agriculture is the backbone of the country, and farmers play an important part in it. In this unpredictable journey of farmer, A true companion holds their hand and becomes their most reliable partner of life. And that is world's biggest fertilizer cooperative, Indian Farmers Fertilizer Cooperative Limited, IFCO, a cooperative working tirelessly since 1967 for the benefit of farmers, always committed to India's growth and prosperity. IFCO, world's largest fertilizer producing cooperative, supporting farmers in feeding 1.3 billion Indians, was no menial feat. With more than 36,000 member cooperative societies and directly impacting around 45 million individuals from farming community across the country. IFCO is an integral part of farmers of country as it gives them services at every step of farming. Its special programs like field demonstration and on-field activities for farmers are always talk of the town. Guiding farmers about balanced use of fertilizer, promote balanced use of fertilizer and effective agriculture techniques is an integrated manner for better income generation. It added innovation in agri-input by introducing new range of products like Sagarika, neem-coated urea, water-soluble fertilizers and biofertilizers. This has helped in increasing the yield of farmers. Under the leadership of Dr. Uday Shankar Avasthe, IFCO has touched new heights of progress and development. He is the brainchild behind Agri-Rural Retail IFCO Bazaar. Now, IFCO has become the #1 cooperative in the world in agriculture and fertilizer sector. Extending their vision beyond agriculture, it incorporates diverse activities for the benefit of farming community like veterinary health checkup, credit financing for farmers, and empowering rural population, especially women individuals and self-help groups through CORDET. IFCO provides free soil testing facilities through their soil testing laboratories and soil testing vans to the farmers. IFCO's initiatives like Save the Soil program and Plant a Neem campaign are revolutionary steps taken for the betterment of the soil of country and farmers. IFCO introduces advanced technology in efficient use of energy, water and micronutrient among farmers for optimum use for bringing sustainable growth in agriculture. Right from forestry to watershed development, seed production to soil management, to make farmers' income self-sustainable. IFCO extended help to other nations like Nepal during the time of its natural calamity by providing relief material to mitigate effects of disaster caused by severe earthquake. Stepping ahead, IFCO ventured into organics and food processing with new JVs CIFCO and CN IFCO cooperating internationally. IFCO brought insurance products through IFCO Tokyo General Insurance Limited. IFCO also have global presence with JIFCO, OMIFCO and KIT. The cooperative also won and retained the seat in Global Board of International Cooperative Alliance for the second time in a row. Under the dynamic and courageous leadership of Dr. Avasthe, IFCO has provided support to millions of farmers in the country on one hand and established India as a forerunner of economic development in the world. IFCO is also committed in fulfilling dream plan of Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji to double the income of farmers of country by 2022. It's truly a farmer's own institution, serving the farmers from the last 5 decades, since 1967.
Great. In fact,
So thank you very much, sir. And I think we see a lot of future for cooperatives, and this is the right time you have organized this e-conference, and we'll see many more things to come in future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bhargav sir, for your presentation. And in fact,
Thank you, sir.
the video clip actually it totally entails in terms of the post diversification difference, be it peace or be it how IFCO comes forward. They put the best foot forward in terms of actually reorienting everybody. And in fact, the points of action you have told us, they are all very, very important. We will incorporate those points for action in our white paper also that you have suggested. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you.
Now with this, thank you, sir. Thank you very much indeed. Now with this, I'd like to invite our next speaker, Shri Sunil Kumar Singh, Additional Managing Director, NIFED. Shri Sunil Kumar Singh, he has over 25 years of working experience in the cooperative sector. He has served the Federation in several capacities with field postings in the states of West Bengal, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, and also headed the Commodity, Finance and Policy divisions at the headquarters. He has also interacted directly with the primary and state level cooperatives during the field postings. He has been instrumental in execution of the financial review package of NIFED, proposed and conceptualized the creation of buffer stock of pulses and also discounted pulses scheme, price support policy of procurement of oilseeds and pulses. He presently looks after the procurement and disposal of price support scheme and the price stabilization fund commodities, policies and business strategies of the Federation amongst various other responsibilities. So who better than Shri Sunil Kumar Singh can actually tell us about the opportunities that we can actually, right now we cannot foresee, but as a domain expert, Shri Singh can actually take us to the journey that what all opportunities and how we can actually unleash the potential of the cooperatives. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you to the organizers for inviting NAFED to a part of this discussion on the cooperatives. It's really an honor to be amongst you to share some thoughts on this subject. As you are aware, NAFED has been working very closely with the primary and state cooperatives for long. And during this long journey, we had very good opportunity as well challenges too. From the challenge front, the very organization continuous was under challenge because of certain things which happened in the past. Therefore, focusing on the subject that we are discussing, how we came out of that challenge explains the beauty of the cooperative structure, the support and the successes which the cooperatives at the national level as well the state and primary level they're exhibiting. However, it is a fact that with India's independence, the first reliance was made on the cooperatives. We did succeed somewhere, we failed at some places. What is the requirement according to me, with Government of India focusing on the cooperative as a vehicle of development, or I would say all-round development, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, and with the formation of a dedicated ministry under a dynamic leadership of our Honorable Home Minister and under the direct supervision of Honorable Prime Minister, what I see that in times to come, there has to be assessment of the strengths and weaknesses. The strengths are very well exhibited. Weaknesses at times do not come and they die their own death. We at the national bodies, we have joint responsibilities of assessment of such problems which we need to address. As a national federations, we may be a very, very successful organization, but our success depends on the success of the state and the primaries. And that's very vital. According to me, that's very vital. Unless the roots are very strong, unless the opportunities at the primary level are as good as the national level, well, our successes would not be that long lasting. In our working, we directly connect with the primary cooperative societies who are procuring agencies from the farmers to provide them the minimum support price declared by Government of India. So what happens? The farmers who are the members of those cooperatives, they directly benefit by getting the minimum support price in case the market doesn't support the rate which they expect, that is the MSP. So the first transfer of the benefit of a scheme through the cooperative channel directly to the farmer goes through the cooperative society. The challenge is, if the primaries are not very strong at the ground level, if they are not well equipped, if they do not have trained manpower, if they do not have the proper credit, if they do not have the warehousing facilities at the ground level, if the infrastructure is weak, so naturally my functioning and my output at the ground becomes that is affected. So from an infrastructure point, from a governance point, from a policy implementation point, the entire chain, right from national, state to the primaries, is very, very important, according to me. The story of the success which the country has witnessed in these 5 years on achieving the self-sufficiency in the pulse production, a reduction in the volatility of the pulse price, and sufficient buffer to even distribute free of cost in the PMGKY last year during the COVID challenge, that very well demonstrates the strength of the cooperative working. And I firmly believe that with the combined efforts of the national bodies, PSD Chamber of Commerce, the newly formed ministry, I see many more AMULs, many more IFCOs, many more NAFIDs coming out, exhibiting their strengths, delivering the benefits of the cooperative federalism to the general masses. On the policy side, well, in days to come, with the 97th Amendment partly accepted by India, by the Supreme Court, the changes which has been visualized to be made by the states, that too would be incorporated. But in this forum, I must point that out, that the governance at the primary state level, that needs improvement. If I compare with the company law, a cooperative body, when it reports sick, does it get the same benefits under the Sick Industrial Companies Act? No, we don't get that. So there would be many issues which we may continue discussing. To me, issues are there and issues shall remain. Challenges do come. Challenges need to be addressed and attempted. And I hope that with a collaborative approach, as my predecessor speakers spoke, the cooperative movement will really exhibit and will continue to exhibit the strengths that it had. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you for your deliberations. In fact, in nutshell, you have given the entire view of the cooperative movement. And as you mentioned that unless roots are strong, we cannot actually go for a go for we cannot win the war. We can basically win small battles, but in order to in fact win the war, we need to have strong infrastructure, governance, policy implementation, and all entire actors in the value chain of this cooperative movement. Each and everybody has to be empowered, and improvisation has to be done from time to time so that we can actually make a strong chain of cooperative movements in India. And as you said, the success story is a byproduct of all these important, foundations like infrastructure, governance, and policy implementation. And NEFED has been one of the prime examples of how our country has achieved self-sufficiency in pulse production. And also during COVID times, we have witnessed that how NEFED was instrumental in distributing pulses from the buffer stock to all the people who were actually requiring it. And these actually showcases the strengths of how cooperative works. And at the end, sir, you mentioned about the collaborative approach. That is again very essential. We need to come out of this silos mentality. There has to be a strong foundation of co-creation and convergence, and that's how we can actually infuse more energy and more charge in the cooperative movement in India. Thank you very much, Shri Sunil Kumar Singh ji, sir, for your deliberation. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. And thank you for your presence and taking your time from busy schedule. Thank you, sir. And with this, now we come to our next session, wherein we are discussing some of the best practices of cooperative models, case studies, and way forward. And I would like to invite Mr. Sanjay Verma. Mr. Sanjay Verma, are you there?
Sir, I would like to take leave, sir. I have to go for a meeting if you don't mind, sir.
No problem, sir. Thank you very much, sir. We look forward to your continuous support.
We will be interacting.
Right, sir. We look forward to your continuous support in our future endeavors. Thank you, sir. Thank you. So with this, I would like to invite Mr. Sanjay Verma. Mr. Sanjay Verma is the Deputy Director, Publications, PR Policy and Cooperative in National Cooperative Union of India. He is also involved as a consultant for New Harmony Press in United Kingdom, which publishes International Journal of Cooperative Management in collaboration with SOBI Business School, Canada. And he has like more than 20 years of experience in cooperative sector, is very passionate about cooperatives. He has done a lot of analysis of the cooperative developments in India as well as abroad, and he has very strong writing skills on cooperative issues. And over and above, he has a very unique blog on cooperatives, which actually analyzes the cooperative developments globally. So with this, I'd like to invite Mr. Sanjay Verma for the deliberation. Over to you, sir. Yeah, please unmute.
Thank you, Mr. Jitendra ji, for inviting me to this webinar. And it is a very timely initiative taken by PhD Chamber of Commerce, webinar on cooperatives. And thank you for giving primacy to this subject of great significance. Basically, my topic is, best practices in cooperatives and the way forward. So I will not, if I go in detail of all the best practices in case studies in cooperatives, so it will take a lot of time. But here I will just mention that, we all know about Amul. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible. Please go ahead.
We all know about Amul, IFCO, CRIFCO, NAFED. These are all the great success stories in the cooperative movement. And Dr. Datta was also saying that we cannot visualize our life without a cooperative, without Amul, because Amul has entered our homes on a daily basis. So it is a part and parcel of our lives. And similarly, IFCO is a great success story, and we listen to Tarun Bhargavati. And similarly, there are many other case studies of success of stories of cooperatives. Primarily, there is one Uralungal Labor Cooperative Contract Cooperative Society in Kerala, which is a cooperative involved in construction industry, and it is a cooperative which is trusted by the government, and it is undertaking so many construction works, and it is giving employment to the laborers and the poor and downtrodden sections of the societies. It is the largest labor cooperative in Asia, and that is a primary level cooperative society. So primary level cooperative societies, that means the cooperatives which are working in the rural areas, They are small cooperatives. They are doing a wonderful work, and at least there are more than 1 lakh, primary level cooperatives in India, and at least 40,000 of them are viable societies, and they are doing wonderful work. And there is another, Mulkanur Cooperative Rural Bank and Marketing Society in Andhra Pradesh also, which is a primary level society, and its business is in crores. And this and these societies, they have been formed because of the felt needs. Because when there's a crisis, the cooperatives are visualized, the cooperatives are formed. For example, you must be aware about the Campco. It is the very big success story of Arakanut growers in Karnataka, because in 1970s, when there was a glut in prices, and the Arakanut growers, they faced a crisis. Then this cooperative was formed, and this cooperative is doing wonderful work. And these growers, farmers, they are now getting remunerative prices of their produce. So the best practices in cooperatives are many. And as one of the panelists had earlier said that, there are many success stories, and Dr. R.P. Singh, and his words were very, very important, that there are so many success stories. But the challenge is how to, get more success stories in cooperatives. The cooperatives, which have emerged as success stories, they have primarily emerged because of many factors. For example, the cooperatives, those organizations which have followed the cooperative principles and values, they have emerged successful. Those and in this respect, I must mention the example of IFCO and AMUL, which are the pure organizations which are pure in cooperative character, self-dependent, and without any extra government assistance or support, and they're all following principles and values. So the those cooperatives, even in the small rural areas, which have following the cooperative principles and values, they have emerged successful. But where the cooperative principles and values, those cooperatives which are not being followed, and where the government's interference is there, where the government, where they're too much dependent on government support, there the cooperative character gets diminished. And now the biggest challenge is that how the biggest challenge before the cooperative sector is that how should we strengthen our cooperative character? How should we strengthen our identity? And how should cooperatives, strengthen their principles and values, and more cooperatives are able to follow principles and values, So this is the biggest challenge before the cooperative movement, and that is why, ICA, the International Policy of Cooperatives, is organizing a World Cooperative Congress. It's deepening cooperative identity. And I must also tell you that the power of cooperatives is great. In fact, during the COVID times, the cooperatives have emerged as a very, very powerful sector as compared to the public and private sector, simply because we see that the agricultural sector has been, there's a silver lining in the economy, because the agriculture sector has emerged very, very successful despite in the COVID crisis. And in this crisis, the cooperatives, particularly the agricultural cooperatives, they have and the agricultural cooperatives, they have played a very, very important role in the success of in the success of the agricultural sector. So, and similarly, we find that there is another success story, in the sense that Amul, during this COVID pandemic, it provided its procurement went up despite in the COVID period, and its gross turnover was more as compared to the earlier years. And despite the disruption in the supply chain network, the Amul provided its services to the people in the rural areas, and most importantly in the towns and cities also. So, and the government had trust in the cooperative model, and it provided all facilities to Amul, so that there was no disruption in the supply chain network, and Amul could provide services in times of need. So there are many other cooperative societies, for example, small level cooperative societies primary level cooperatives which came up with oxygen facilities when there was a second, grave wave of pandemic, COVID pandemic, which shook the nation. So the cooperatives, I'm trying to tell you, because of this, COVID crisis, they have emerged stronger, and there is a public, there is a strong, recognition of the cooperative model, that the cooperatives are those organizations which are quite stable and continuous, and they are not subject to uncertainties like the corporates and the private sector, and they have a stable and continuous model which is democratic and which is based on member participation, so that the government now is fully recognizing the cooperative model. And with the formation of the cooperative ministry, the cooperative sector has been given a big push. And I'm sure that with the with a dynamic our minister, with Amit Shah as the helm of the affairs, the cooperative movement will get a new direction, and the best practices in cooperatives will emerge more. And and the other panelists were talking about, the cooperatives may be in the concurrent list also. So this will be also a very good thing, that if cooperatives come in the concurrent list, and so that the central direction comes from the ministry, and that will also improve, and this will not this will not lead to lack of harmony between the centers. In fact, it will strengthen the central government and the state government's relationships with regard to cooperatives. And because there are so many legal hurdles in the cooperative movement also, because recently the Supreme Court judgment has struck some portions of the 97th 97th Constitutional Amendment Act. And the big challenge is now how to how to establish a cordial and harmonious relationship between the cooperatives, and at the national level and the state level. And there the role of important organizations like IFCO, NCY, NAFED, CRIPCO, they are very important. And I'm very much sure that in the times to come, the cooperative sector will be more strengthened, and the cooperatives will emerge, and the autonomous and the independent character of cooperatives working with principles and values will get a more push, and many more success stories like Amul, and many more success stories like IFCO will emerge. And so that there will be no dearth of success stories in the cooperative. And even and the most important thing is that the many of the success stories, they are in the cooperative sector, they lie hidden. They're not coming to the surface. And so that is why we need to have a very strong communication strategy to get those success stories in the open, because people are more aware about Amul, IFCO, CRIPCO, NAFED, but there are so many other success stories in the cooperative sector at the grassroots levels which lie hidden. So the need is how to bring those cooperative sectors to the fore through a strong communication strategy. And that will, and I'm very happy that PhD Chamber is taking a lot of interest in cooperative sector. And Jitendra ji has said that this is an age of collaboration. We should not live in silos like that, and we should all collaborate with like-minded organizations. And with the formation of the ministry cooperatives, I think the role of PhD Chamber becomes more important. And NCI, National Cooperative Union of India, IFCO, IFCO, their role all will become more important in the times to come with the formation of this cooperative movement, cooperative ministry. And the cooperative sector, there's a lot of rejuvenation, there's a lot of jubilation in the cooperative sector, that the cooperative movement will be strengthened in the times to come. And I'm sure that this will be this step, and this is cooperative movement had been championing the cause of formation of a separate ministry for so many years, in fact. So this is a big achievement, and I'm sure that the cooperative movement will be strengthened in the times to come, and more best practices will emerge, and more people will be aware of the cooperative sector, and more youth, particularly the younger sections of the society, they will join the cooperative movement, because now the emphasis on is on cooperative entrepreneurship, so that youth can take up cooperatives as an important carrier for the entrepreneurship development. Till now, they were looking only at the public and the private sector, but now the cooperative model of entrepreneurship is also getting lot of support, lot of support from the government and the NCDC. There are so many schemes for funding the youth entrepreneurship schemes. So I think in the times to come, the cooperative sector will get a major facelift. Thank you. Thank you for your. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Verma, for your deliberations. Thank you very much. And since you work very closely with NCUI and you also have written many blogs on this, I'm sure that you are way ahead in terms of the wisdom and understanding of cooperatives that we have. And as you rightly said, that the success stories of most of the cooperatives, they are quite, they lie hidden, because there are many grassroots level success stories, but since they are not able to communicate properly, they are not able to actually brand themselves properly or come in the open. So we're not able to understand the innovations or some of the best models they have done within their cooperative system, which can be actually replicated by other cooperatives also. So we need to create an ecosystem wherein such cooperatives also can actually make themselves visible to the outside world also, which requires in fact more sort of brainstorming to bring them on the board. And of late you mentioned about the cooperative model of entrepreneurship. This is again very important, because our youth who is burgeoning with a lot of energy, and there are a lot of startups that come, there are a lot of development sector and social enterprises also, they are coming in the last decade that we have witnessed, and with a lot of thrust on the startup India culture. I'm sure this cooperative model of entrepreneurship will definitely get a good traction. Government is loaded with different schemes for promoting entrepreneurship, and I'm sure that entrepreneurship within this cooperative models will also see more and more traction from everybody. With this note, thank you very much, Mr. Verma, for sharing your thoughts. We are really indebted. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Now I like to invite our next speaker, Professor K.N. Bhatt. Professor Bhatt is the Associate Professor and Coordinator for Center for Population, Environment and Health at GB Pant Social Science Institute, Allahabad. He is PhD from Department of Economics, Allahabad University, Master in Economics with specialization in Ecological Economics, Natural Resource Management, Environment and Development, Disaster Management, Primary Education, Literacy, Human Development, Child Labor, Panchayati Raj, Decentralization, and a lot of other important sectors like consumer protection, agricultural development, gender issues. He has around 21 research projects authored and co-authored and monitored and advised, and also sponsored by many international, national and state level organizations like World Bank, ILO, UNDP, UNESCO, Shri Ram Foundation, Tata Chemicals, National Literacy Mission, and many more. He has published around 4 books. 1 book is in progress, and he has more than 3 dozen research papers published in reputed journals and or in different edited volumes. With this, I like to invite Professor Bhatt, such a rich alumni, sir. You have so much rich experience in academic world. I'm sure that your deliberations will be a torch bearer for all of us to emulate. Over to you, sir.
Thank you indeed, Dr. Jitenji. It's a pleasure on the platform of very prestigious Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
थोड़ा सा sir loud होइए, थोड़ा सा please be louder, sir.
Yeah, it will be louder gradually.
Yeah.
Am I audible now?
Fine, sir.
So I congratulate you on selecting the topic called harnessing the power of cooperatives. Yes, big question is how to make cooperatives function in India. On these lines, my presentation focus would be on how far cooperative movement in India has succeeded. Here I will touch upon some success stories as this session goes, and what its prospects are in the changed scenario of globalization. Why I'm talking of globalization? Because of after globalization of 90s, there is monopolization of capital resources. centralization of capital resources, distributive injustices. This is the point why I would be touching on this point. I would like to explore the possibilities of making cooperatives work as an alternative model of economic enterprises to rectify the disorders of distribution, production of goods and services, and ensure social equity and justice. How to imbibe the cooperative movement in India in order to counter the forces of globalization, as I suggested earlier. Friends, we all know I need not to speak more on because of the cooperative I'm talking. Cooperative for defined as cooperative is an autonomous association of persons united voluntarily. Please mind the word voluntarily to meet their common economic, social, and cultural needs and aspirations through a jointly owned and democratically controlled enterprise. This is International Cooperative Alliance as they have defined. I also consider cooperatives in this context and spirit. Cooperative has basic ethical values. It survives when there is honesty. It survives when there is openness. It survives when there is social responsibility and caring for others. Friends, globalization helps in securing resources to improve quality of life. This is a stated goal of globalization. And stated goal of globalization is also eradicate poverty, illiteracy, ill health, and bring happiness, overall happiness, improvement in the quality of life. However, ground reality points to some different scenario, just opposite. There is no scope for those having no capital assets. If someone is deprived of any capital asset, earning asset, then in this scenario of neo-capitalism, the gentleman or gentlewoman has no scope. Spatial implications of globalization reveal that this also leads in many divides. There is urban and rural. There is rampant migration from urban to rural. There is no continuum as such under these circumstances. And we have seen the sprawling slums in our urban areas. A philosopher of 18th century has pointed out that these large urban areas would be one day the grave of modern civilization. This is visible during the COVID pandemic, when hundreds and thousands and lakhs of people kept on migrating to their native places when they were out of jobs and were in distress. This is one point to be considered, how these sprawling metropolises and urbanization is leading to this kind of pain. And there is competition without compassion. Growing ecological and environmental destruction is visible. In India, after globalization in 1990, below poverty population increased, not decreased. Government of India's own committee, appointed committee, headed by Arjun Sen Gupta, report 2007 clearly suggests that there is 77% population below poverty line who consume less than rupees 20 per day per capita. So I'm not maligning the successes of globalization. Indeed, we have grown very high, 9%, 10%, 7%, 6% average. And our economy is growing like anything. Development per se has not been a problem. But distributive justice and distribution of economic resources has been a big problem. Friends, before 1990, in terms of billionaires, India ranked very low, very above 10. Now, India in terms of billionaires is third rank after US and USA. In 2021, we had 136 billionaires. On social criteria, there can be three sectors. First is public sector that we have seen functioning from 1951 planning era to 1990, when under distress we went for the globalization. And second is private sector that is visible. Private sector was not given priority up to 80. After 80s only private sector came into play. And third is social solidarity sector, SSS, that we are talking about. Historically, cooperative movement began in Europe in mid-19th century to overcome the distresses generated out of the industrialization process that began in mid-19th century in Europe. So at the same time, cooperatives were formed there. Earlier, if I talk about earlier, so tenant farming cooperatives existed in Babylonian civilization also. Burial benefit societies in Greece, Greco-Roman context. African, Asian, and Latin American indigenous cultures place great value on cooperative social structures. We have our cooperative history not only 100 years, but our entire society was philosophically, socially, spiritually leaning towards cooperation. Village republics. Communal granaries were established in Japan called Sasso in 1600. Cooperative based on broad moral principles of mutual aid and shared vision of progress with sufficiently business-like. Real word is business-like. Any cooperative, if not having an economic objective of development, will not succeed. This is what experience suggests. Cooperative provides link, binding all parties together like a silver wire that holds pearls together. If this is the spirit, in India, today, national cooperative movement covers about, our earlier speaker has already given this data, about 90% of rural population. We have 8.50 lakh cooperative societies and 29 crore members. IFCO has 35% share in fertilizer, and in sugar sector, 50% share, 58% share cooperatives has, 60% in marketing and distribution of cotton, 50% in edible oil, processing, marketing and distribution. NDTV, everybody has talked about it. And Amul, everybody has talked about it, is the world's largest operative dairy in the world. Still, cooperative sector, unfortunately, if we assess, give a few remarks, has drastically failed, except few success stories. The scale, the population, the distributive justice, the poverty-ridden population we are talking about requires great success from cooperative sector if we need to really rectify the anomalies of distributive justice. No right to self-determination. Why these cooperatives failed, if I say so? No right to self-determination of the cooperatives. Government control in all aspects. Registrar intervenes at every stage. And bogus membership is there. Too many functions of some cooperatives, master of none. Subsidies led to commitments. Friends, I give you a small experience. I was doing one project on child labor for International Labour Organization in Firozabad. One component of that child labor project was make sustainable livelihoods for the mothers of the child labor. They were organized in SHGs. They were trained on the real spirit of SHGs. But even after that training, they were hoping that some subsidy comes and then they will be functional. They could not be functional. Even after GO that failed by 80, we brought NGOs that also largely not highly succeeded. Then we came up with a big movement of SHGs. We thought self-help will be self-help in the spirit, letter and spirit. But unfortunately, SHG movement also could not attain that height which was expected out of it. And all SHGs look for subsidies. Dependence on state patronage is killing the real spirit of cooperatives. Uniform model is not required throughout the country. Local factors need to be included in all cooperatives. And policy command from national and international financial institutions will at times will make hurdles in the functioning of cooperatives. How to make cooperatives work? This is the real question here. Here, friends, I would point out to two success stories. One success story is about a small tribal community. And this is a very small success story in terms of its scale. This success story goes like that. This is Irula Snake Catchers Cooperative Society, Chennai. S. Smith reported this success story in 2007. I am giving you the story. These tribals were catching snakes and selling skins in the market of the snakes. Because of the Wildlife Act 1972, they were prevented from catching and killing the snakes. And under the distress, they migrated to the cities. And how they exploited, I need not to tell you, that happens with every migrant, poor migrant to the cities. They became laborers, exploited and distressed. And some Sumetarian organized these people in a cooperative. And I give you the success story of this cooperative. This cooperative, under the law of cooperative, they were allowed to catch the snakes live, bring it to the place where their cooperative existed, and milk them in a week for venom. And that venom is ultimately converted as powder, as anti-venom serum. And friends, that cooperative sells that venom. 1 gram venom is costed 9,800 rupees. That goes to the cooperative. And in addition, out of the profit of selling this powder, they are also given money for catching rats, frogs, and snakes died as snakes died during the captivity period. That money also goes to them. In nutshell, on an average, it is onwards. Their at that exchange rate, their per member on an average was 4,000 rupees per month. These people are helpless. This is a story of a very small scale. Amul, everybody talk. I'm not going into the detail, but I'm quoting its father figure, Verghese Kurian. I quote, hours worked producing milk in India are equivalent to 45 million full-time employees. 45 million full-time employees. That means dairying in India has more employment than any other sector in any economy of the world. This is Verghese Kurian. But a massive network collecting milk from almost 12 million farmers, testing it, grading it, transporting it twice a day from 1 lakh villages, over 10,000 routes to about 200 dairy plants, processing it, packing it, sending it to market in almost 800 big and small towns every day of the year. I hope you will agree this is no mean task in marketing. Unquote. I'm showing only one picture. I'm not going to tell about more. Everybody knows about Amul. These are the success stories, only two success stories. Jitenji wanted me to speak on completely on success stories because I had not done any particular research on a particular success story. Therefore, I said, okay, I'll bring some, but I cannot in detail. These are two success stories. So, friends, there are cooperatives in many sectors. There are farming cooperatives, there are credit cooperatives, there are producer cooperatives, there are consumer cooperatives, there are marketing cooperatives, and there are housing cooperatives. Now, head of cabinet reshuffle, as everybody has told, fortunate enough for India, this congratulations to this government. New ministry has come, and responsibility given to is the Home Minister of India. One can see the emphasis and importance given by the Prime Minister of India to this ministry, and we hope things will be formalized. Government control, as I spoke, would be less, and these institutions would be democratic. And if so, cooperatives may deliver wonderful results if designed and managed with democratically functional and vibrant social organizations. Technology has a great role now with internet and information technology revolution. The intermediaries, the beneficiaries without work, the chain of them can be broken with the help of internet and with the help of science and technology. And this can be reduced to zero. And cooperative societies may benefit out of this technology if policy initiatives are taken. Macro policy framework for such vision is required. I conclude, friends, Cooperatives should be evolved as alternative to economic enterprises. As I told you earlier, without any economic development objective, any cooperative may not succeed. World history has seen three kinds of development models. Different varieties of socialist model. One is China and Soviet Russia variety. Other is Fabian socialist and Western socialist variety. In brief, in some countries that was experimented, but it was not succeeded. It was not sustainable, though it attains many heights in many examples. Second model is this capitalist model, which is neo-capitalism now, which is concentrating economic power in few hands, that I need not to explain further. And this model of cooperative development model is the third model that can lead the globe to distributive justice and widening gap of poor and rich. This can be rectified with the help of cooperative model of development. Corporatist model of development has established many things. Corporatist, I am not criticizing corporatist model. Corporates has their role, but there are sectors where they should and where this cooperative model should. And cooperative model of development is the only hope for the world, as I feel. If so, cooperatives must be freed from government control. They should be made autonomous, real autonomous, functional units. Social, cultural parity of the members is required. If in one cooperative, one member is billionaire or millionaire and all other are paupers, then entire cooperative will be captured by that member alone. So the parity, cultural and economic and the social kind of parity should be among the members when making a cooperative. It will succeed. So therefore both top-down and bottom-up strategies for the success of cooperative is required. I again thank you, my very old friend, Professor Jitendra Ji. I thank all organizers, PhD Chamber, and your leaders who are here. IFCO, I have long association with IFCO. I have been association with our great friend, PhDC, Mr. Khare. I have been introduced to Jitendra by Mr. Khare. I thank you all very much for making me part of this conference.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor Bhatt, for your deliberations. You are, in fact, have been, very, very closely. You were closely attached with many of the projects and the success stories. We told about 2 success stories. They are definitely very, very important. And you rightly mentioned about the role of technology is very important for creating more opportunities in cooperative movement. And as you know, with internet and with smartphones everywhere, I'm sure this is one of the best times wherein we can actually give a new lease of life to the cooperative movement in India. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
The proceedings, if you require, there is one paper published by me in 2007 in an international journal. I can send you.
Yeah, please send the link, sir. That would be wonderful. We'll share it with all the delegates. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Now, indeed, it was very, very wonderful deliberations. And now I'd like to invite our next speaker, Dr. K.K. Upadhyay. Dr. Upadhyay is a widely respected and seasoned development professional with over 4 decades of experience across government, not-for-profits, academia, as well as corporate. He has pioneered several innovative and successful models that exist in the development sector today, including Mother Dairies, Safal, then Apni Yojana, which is an integrated rural water supply and sanitation project for 1,000 villages and 10 towns in Rajasthan, and also Bastar's integrated development project for the Royal Danish Embassy and the Health of the Urban Poor program for USAID PFI. And as an alumnus of GB Pant Agriculture, University of Agriculture and Technology and Institute of Rural Management, Anand, that is IRMA, he has propagated the social entrepreneurship model of amalgamating business with social responsibility based on the Amul model. He has been a pivotal part of the CSR journey in India as a thought leader, as a practitioner, and a former head of the FICCI Aditya Birla CSR Center for Excellence. And he has been an expert with Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs and was on board of several non-profits, including National Trust, Jan Shrishti Yojana Kosh, and UN Global Compact. So over to Dr. Upadhyay for your kind deliberations for the august audience. Please unmute, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Jitendra. It's always pleasure to be with you.
Thank you, sir.
And with the PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Excellent deliberations. The way people have explained, the whole concept of cooperatives, I'll try to be short in keeping in the focus the time. I had the privilege of working with Dr. Varghese Korean. I was the first batch student of IRMA. We were the guinea pigs when people were started talking about what is rural management. We spent time in cooperatives in Punjab and other places. I got the opportunity to make cooperatives in UP. I was with Parag, Pradeshik Cooperative Dairy Federation, and worked in about 200 villages, found about 300 cooperatives. Working myself has given me that insight into the cooperatives. So when Dr. Jitendra mentioned about the cooperatives, I got really interested because this is something which is in our DNA. We tried through Mother Dairy Fruits and Vegetables Suffer to replicate the Amul model, which generally we refer as Anand pattern, in fruits and vegetables, also in tree growing, in oil seeds. It has its own ifs and buts. Let me first come to Amul. Because this session is about case study, so I thought I'll see it from an angle of an outsider, then more as an insider. As the outsider, I see Amul started in 1946 due to a crisis. There was a problem. The farmers were not able to get enough money for their milk. They went to the Tribhuvandas Patel. He took advice from Sardar Patel. He said, if you are ready to take risk, first thing was, if you are ready to take risk, organize yourself and face Paulson. They did that. It ended in getting a license to supply milk to Mumbai, which was Bombay that time. What is the core of success of Amul? To me, it is its unique three-tier system. At the ground level, we have milk producers cooperative societies, which has 2.79 million producers. Daily, they give milk to their cooperative. On basis of the fat and SNF, they are paid. The milk goes to the processing plant. At the processing plant level, is the District Milk Producers Union, where they process it, they make products, ghee, butter, chocolate, all those products, and then they give it to Gujarat Cooperative Milk Marketing Federation that sells it mostly under the brand name of Amul. Why Amul is successful? Amul is successful because first thing is Amul always changed with time. As I said, it started as a revolution. They had milk which was to be supplied. Then the processing, there was a problem. How to process that milk? Because milk cannot stay. The problem comes in summer, we have little milk and we have plenty of milk in winter. And in summer, when I was working in Punjab, I started the cooperatives there. The problem was coming, farmers will give me in winter. Even one farmer can give me 1,000 liters. But in summer, when the Dudwala, the private milk plant will give him more money, he'll buy all the milk there. So how did we overcome this problem at the processing level? What we did, we processed the milk. We made powder out of it. So as we can always meet the consumer demand in any season, any demand. That's the success story. Is how you sell your products. That's what Professor Butt also mentioned. It's economics basically. When you can give consumer what he wants. That's why we have been using technology, state-of-the-art technology, changing with time. Anything which changes with time is able to survive. That's why they were able to survive even during the pandemic, during the COVID times. Amul or its subsidiaries did not stop even for one day. They worked with the government, they worked with the administration. That's another key to success. Work with the administration. When it was COVID, during these 2 years, their sales have increased almost from 30,000 crores per annum to 52,000 crores per annum. Not stopping for one day, doing a good business and meeting the consumer demands. It was the only company in FMCG sector which launched more than 30 products. Second is a branding. Amul is a brand. It's owned by farmers, and whatever profit GC MMF earns, most of it, 85% goes toward the farmers. So at regular intervals, they get this difference of the profit. So they earn much more. During pandemic, 8,000 crores were given to the farmers regularly, without break. That's called branding. If cooperatives have to success, they have to succeed. They have to have a brand. You must be visible in the market. You must be with plenty of products. And you also must give them what they need actually. And the last of all, you must spread the market. It supplies to almost 24 countries now. All its products basically. So you must be ever expanding if you want to do that. That's what CRIPCO has been doing, NAFED has been doing two things basically. First, capturing the market. Second thing is, as per the demand of the market, the supply. You remember when we had the onion crisis, NAFED was giving onion. And with the new innovation, like the neem coated urea, it solves a lot of problems. So once we tackle to these problems, we are with the consumer and consumer accepts us. That's where the success lies. That's what this case study is all about. And the last one, you must cater to the full family. The older ones, they like the products, and the millennium ones also, they also like. They like when I go with my family, I drink at Amul Parlor, Chach. My son, he likes Amul Cool. So the deal is very cool. My wife, she will have a Shirikant. That's what they all like. And that's what the thing is. That's the mantra of the success. Once you cater to the needs of your consumers, all the segments, then the success is granted. And above all, for success, you must have certain part of the market. As one of the panelists mentioned, Amul gives to about 15% of the milk market and 37% of the ice cream. That's what we were not able to do in fruits and vegetables. So once you capture the market, you meet the needs, success is theirs. Cooperatives have a good future. And I appreciate Dr. Jitendra for this initiative. Working together, that's the mantra, that's the solution. Always enjoyed it. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Dr. Jitendra.
Thank you, Professor Upadhyay sir, for your deliberations. Citing the Amul story, you actually created a proper, like how Amul as a success story has created value chain among all stakeholders, starting from a small marginal farmers to the, the rich echelons. And some of the success stories, like we have this Amul girl, the advertising charm, which is used by the company to promote its brand. It's the brand cleverly used cartoons in its longest lasting advertisement campaign. It adds a touch of humor to the print ads. Then second, in terms of innovation, Amul always continues to innovate, whether it is a new product launch or creative marketing activities. It's also a very powerful brand. And you also mentioned about the efficient supply chain also, as Amul follows the 3-level cooperative structure of the village level dairy cooperative society, which is connected to the regional dairy cooperative and which is part of the state level dairy association. And also in the last, we mentioned about the diversified product portfolio like Amul Chach and a lot of different stuffs. And with this diversified product portfolio, Amul actually is meeting all the needs of the market segments. And it is also providing benefits to the target market segments. And also Amul has built a very strong brand relationship with its customers over the last many years. And it has been consistently consistent in all its endeavors. Thank you, Professor Upadhyay, for sharing success story. And in fact, this needs to be replicated among all the cooperatives in India, and so is the NAFEDs and IFCO success story. Thank you very much. And with this, now I'd like to invite our distinguished speaker, Professor K.K. Sharma. Professor K.K. Sharma is in the Center of the Study of Regional Development, School of Social Sciences in Jawaharlal Nehru University. Over to you, Professor Sharma.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here today, and I was listening to all the distinguished people from diversified field. And probably that was the best point to make me understand that conceptually there is a lot of things to be learned. What cooperatives have been or able to do that. Let me frame up two preambles for understanding the new Ministry of Cooperation that has come up. And if the cooperation movement in India is not a new one, very old one, if now it has to become a reality at a ground level, then what the new ministry would be looking at strengthening the cooperatives all over one. The second is what all success stories people talked about, the bigger or very big one, the cooperatives in India, maybe Amul, IFCO, Prefco, NEFED. They are very big cooperatives, those who had a great success over the years. Now, this is the learning from us. And then I, as an individual who has been trained in agriculture transformation and rural development, and taking a lessons from the theoretical knowledge of different aspects related to rural development in India, where 6,25,000 villages and more than 80% people live in rural areas. And even day to day, the more than 75% people engaged in the primary sector. I hope we have a very large scope of formation of cooperatives. Now, I have been working with Dairy Idle Development Corporation for a very long time. And we created a model of rural development in Uttarakhand, in Deengaon area. I'll be touching upon that, and then how we formulated the idea of working with them. Now, before that, we made a study for one organization, which I always like to mention everywhere. And that organization was one which was formed by the Dutch Foundation in Belangana district or Belangana area in Uttarakhand, Tehri Dam catchment area, very backward one. And learning from them, then another success story of a cooperative which I learned and we implemented in our research area was, that is Konkalata Mahila Urban Cooperative in Assam. Learning and how the women are only responsible for running a bank, and the bank is loaning to all the different kind of self-help groups, and it has emerged one of the best when RBI now has recognized that Mahila Konkalata Mahila Urban Cooperative Bank, and the aid is being given by the RBI. On the same line, we made a study thorough for many days with them, and then we started the same kind of a banking loaning microcredit to the rural areas in the Lamgaon area, probably covering hundreds of villages under the same concept, where the seed money was given by the THDC India Limited. It's a very success story to understand. And on the basic and principles of the same, we took up the challenge that what we should really do for the rural community as such. We formulated a project by understanding the whole concept before we really arrived at a concept of the cooperatives, the self-help groups, how we are going to do that. Now, when we made a study, I hope the background to understand as what the Amul probably done in Gujarat, understanding the poverty, but there was a strong way where the milk can be supplied for the farmers. So we also understood the same way, where the remote areas in Uttarakhand, where the connectivity was very low, we wanted to understand the kind of the variations happening in gender inequality. There was a large scale poverty prevailing. And at the same time, there were very less chances of employment generation in the primary sector. And at the same time, there was no social integration that was happening in that area. And then we wanted to see that how socially we can protect the farmers and the rural community. And then how we can empower the rural women under the different form of activities which they could do by their qualifications. And then we wanted to combat the kind of the changes climatically happening in those regions, and how then the neoliberal and the globalization ways of understanding can be brought to the ground level before we convince the farmer to fall in activity related to their economic generation, and social justice can be provided to them. And that is the way where we wanted to bring in a concept of the total social development under the broader concept of Millennium Development Goals, and then to really look into how the sustainable development goals can be achieved through this mechanism of bringing all the farmers together in one platform locally, and then they should have a global vision of, so that they can do much more job and the kind of poverty that can be reduced. Now, this is what I feel that I started working with, and we started working with one of the organizations that what we can do to look at them, and the project was formulated. And that this kind of a way to look at the formation of the cooperative and the group, we wanted to associate the various different national and international organizations to come together in the Indau area, so that they should work on one concept, which I always, and I'm also working on a different point now, that is farmers to owner concept. And we want to create the ownership of farmers over a period of time under the whole process, as what is happened in the Amul or maybe in other organizations. Now, we wanted to develop a business model. Now, that business model should be able to handle everything at a grassroots level of production system. And they should be able to have a mechanism, and the training need to be imparted to them. And that is how the processing would be done by them there in the field itself. And then finally, they should be also taught how the trading need to be done to compete in the market, as what the Professor Upadhyay was talking about, that how to get into the trading and then how they should be able to compete in the market. Now, either we can look at, say, the size of the village market in India is very small, but yes, we have a bigger market elsewhere, and then you have a global market. The Amul in its journey for so many years have moved out of India to capture a market in more than 20 countries in the world. So they have a global market today. And there are organizations which have, say, a state level market system, or maybe there is a scope for a regional market. But of course, when large section of people, when I work with them in tribals, or when I work with other rural development sector organizations, they have a very small market, and that's the rural market. Now, I am always believing that as long as India do not expand the rural market system, the cooperatives will be not that very basically doing a great job. A Mool model is really good, that all cooperatives need to learn and move in the same direction to become a brand, and they should become in the same size. But all cooperatives cannot really come to the size of a Mool or a IFCO or a CRIFCO or a NEFET, but still all at a regional and a small level, which I know the cooperatives have done a wonders for a small level, where the present government talks about the Atmanirbhar Bharat, and the social entrepreneurship is probably going to create Atmanirbhar Bharat, and that is where the cooperatives are going to play a very important role. And for that, we need to have a consortium with the cooperatives. Then one cooperative should have a multiple choice to form a consortium together with the other organization or other cooperatives. And if they move into a federations, probably then that is going to be a great job if they are able to do that. And probably the PhD Chamber of Commerce or IFCO probably are the bigger one. They should have to develop a model to show the smaller cooperatives that yes, these are the success model created by PhD or IFCO or CRIFCO they need to work on. Now, what I see through my work, where I have been bringing more than 52 small programs for the rural communities as such under the panorama of a bigger cooperative. And we were promoting agriculture right from the training program to providing better quality seeds, and then to produce more than the requirement of our local needs. And then the surplus was collected by our center, and then that was sent to the market into maybe Rishikesh or maybe Dehradun. So the farmers started earning, and they had a habit today of producing good amount of surplus to sell in the market. That I see, yes, this has started happening. Then I told them that why not you start processing? So now what has happened is some of the local villagers have started entering into the processing of the local produce. And when you look at, say, the kind of local produce is able to compete with the local market. So that means where the local market is being captured by these small entrepreneurs today in Lamgaon area, or maybe in Rishikesh, they are falling in that habit. So we are teaching them that not only the cooperative, but how the functions of the cooperatives need to be strengthened and harnessed. And when we say the farmers need to be becoming an owner, then I say that once they become the owner in the total process, the profit will be shared equally as what the cooperatives work on, and how buffer is created for future investments. So that means what others were talking about is that any cooperative which makes a profit need to be invested in the next kind of investment into the other sectors of economy, so that they continue to multiply and create a branding for them. And that is what we have started in the area where our operations are there. Now, I'm also entering into one similar kind of a mechanism in Sonipat district, where we are in touch with more than 500 farmers, and thousands of hectares of land is available with us today. We want to generate a bigger model of cooperative with these farmers. Sometimes what happens is that the farmers are not able to understand the whole concept of the cooperatives and the federations. We need to give them training. So we are going to have a joint venture today with one Vertis Foundation and Agro Solution Company, so that the consortium will be followed and formed with these farmers, and our cooperative will be in the agriculture sector will be created. Now, what I see in a success of a total process, I will not take more time, only say another 4 or 5 minutes I will devote Jatinderji, and then I will finish off. So the idea behind the whole concept of the federation is that how the seed money has to be brought in to the farmers for improving the quality of the cooperative program. So we need to see that once the seed money, the kind of the investment is being made by the other consortium based companies into the main organization, that how farmers will have an equal business partners too. If they are able to understand that I am a partner to the total business process, the cooperative will have a success. And we have already been success at a grassroots level to understand that people will do that. Then I should be able to, or the cooperative should be able to invest into the another agriculture business ventures in the same. And then the farmer should also know that nothing is free, and you have to repay back that. And when they understand that they are owners, I hope the success can go ahead. Then we need to always give them the strategic guidance, which has happened in the major cooperatives in the world and India as well. There is a complete cell that how strategic plannings are being done, and without strategic planning, we cannot really go in. At the same time, the investment and reinvestment has to be a venture into the cooperative movement to make it a success. And then when we have the collective actions probably of the cooperatives, is that they save time and they save money, and then you multiply the time and you multiply the savings, and that is how the cooperative movement is also becoming a success as a story. And at that same time, the Professor Upadhyay was talking, or the Bhatt was talking about, or the other speakers were talking about, what is the bargaining power of the cooperatives. Now, the bargaining power has to be very, very important for branding. Today, Amul can bargain, IFCO can bargain, but the small cooperatives may not have the bargaining power. For that, we need a strategic planning. And I hope the PhD Chamber of Commerce can become a partner in creating a branding. Plus, again, they can also make it a system that how the bargaining powers of the small enterprises need to be improved upon. Now, we are going to work with the tribal community in Jharkhand, only where the non-forest produce is not being marketed. So I'm going to go and then again collectively see a cooperative we are going to form there in Jharkhand. And then the marketing will be either done by the TriFed or maybe by other different cooperatives. can be a recent venture too. And that is the bargaining power need to be done. And then we need to really take out the intermediaries from the bargaining of the corporations. And lastly, I would say that cooperative is a very strong movement. And I always emphasize there should be a collective cooperative farming system to improve the agriculture and allied sector in India as per date today, which is still lacking. We do not have very strong, although they may be, but I feel that yes, there is a strong movement that needs to go. That is what farmers are ready. My personal example in Rajasthan, where we started this collective farming movement, and I hope we collectively had hundreds of farmers with us, but we were not able to have the seed money to start the cooperative there. But yes, they are willing to do that. Farming community is willing to go about doing it. So I have personally done all this exercise to form a cooperative in Uttarakhand. We have seen the success, we have seen the failure, we have learned the lessons from bigger ones. I hope we have 52 major programs for the cooperative movement. It's not only say one activity. You have to strengthen them from outside with various other resources too, so that their activity multiplies over a period of time. I hope, Jitendra, this is a long story to narrate, and the long experience I carry with me, where practically I have worked and seen with them at a micro level. Some other time we have a time, then we can discuss in detail that how we work in the community and how we prepare the farmers, which others are doing it, of course, but my way of doing is something very different. I'm very successful in doing and convincing the farmers and the local communities for the rural development, as well as for making the system a change. What I say in cooperatives is, you change the mind, you change the life. So if you are able to change the mind of the people to be in the system, you have to have a concept how you can change the life. So cooperatives can really change the mind of the community and the profitability or a life of people. It's a wonderful model where the government of India has taken an initiative to form a very separate ministry under the leadership of our dynamic Prime Minister. And I am very thankful to Dr. Jitendra to call me to deliver something to all this. And I'm very happy to be there today with all the experts. They have more knowledge than me. But of course, yes, the experience can be shared. They can go ahead with. Thank you, Jitendra. Once I have not taken more time.
No, sir, not at all, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Indeed, it's always a pleasure listening to Professor K.K. Sharma. I listened to him during his stint with Delhi University, now with JNU. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
And in fact, one of the important points you highlighted, which was missing, was that you have actually mapped this, cooperatives with the achievement of sustainable development goals. Although,
Yes.
As you rightly pointed that although we have a lot of success stories, but what happens is that most of the cooperatives, they tend to be more preoccupied with their local issues rather than the national, regional or international ones, because they have, as you rightly said, they have a poor bargaining capacity also.
Yes.
And since their basic concern is to serve their members and their own concerns, so what happens, their voice and presence tends to fade away with any focus towards the national, regional or international scenes. So this communication channels they have to open. I think more capacity building has to be done for the cooperatives, and then we can say that cooperatives can definitely be one of the important contributors to our triple bottom line of the economic, social as well as environmental objectives, and also the governance agenda.
Yes.
So thank you very much, sir, for sharing your perspective. And in fact, from all the speakers since morning, we have come to conclusion that all the cooperatives, they offer a very, very important and alternative model for social enterprise with contributions to sustainable development, also like job creation, and their promotion and expansion should be very, very important instrument for achieving SDGs. And now, since we have Ministry of Cooperation in place, I'm sure that there will be a renewed thrust among all the cooperatives. And as a chamber, we are committed to actually help our farmers, our small cooperatives, be it dairy, fisheries, or banking sector, credit sector, whatever it is. From industry perspective, industry is very keen to join hands. with the cooperative movement in India, so that we'll actually be able to realize the potential of achieving socioeconomic inclusion among all. So I'm really thankful to all our learned speakers, starting from Mr. R.P. Singh, the chair of HR IR Committee, PhD Chamber, and also Director IFCO, and Dr. Datta, who is the mentor for development sector organizations, Mr. Tarun Bhargav, General Manager from IFCO, Mr. Sunil Kumar Singh, Additional Managing Director, NEFED, Mr. Sanjay Verma, Deputy Director, National Cooperative Union of India, Professor K.N. Bhatt, GB Pant, Social Science Institute, Allahabad University, Professor Dr. K.K. Upadhyay, he is the Professor and Chairperson, CSR and Sustainability, BIMTech, and also our most learned person, Professor K.K. Sharma from Jawaharlal Nehru University. We are all, sir, thrilled with these deliberations. This was a perfect conglomeration of industry, government, and academia interface. And that's what is the concept of, co-creation, convergence, and, going for silo busting. So thank you very much indeed. We will definitely be coming out with a white paper on this subject, and we will send it to you also for your feedbacks. Kindly give your inputs also. And then we will be sending this to the Ministry of Cooperation and among all our state departments of cooperation. So thank you indeed very much. We are also thankful to IFCO for sponsoring this program, and we look forward to your continued engagement in all our future endeavors. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all the delegates for sparing their valuable time. Thank you.
Thank you, Jitendra ji. Thank
Dr.
you.
Jitendra, very good job done.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Padya ji.
Thank you. Thank you, Srimati. I'll get in touch with you.
Well done.
Thank you, Professor Bhatt, and Professor Sharma was in fact remembering you yesterday that you were instrumental in doing some of the important projects with THTC also.
Okay.
वो भूल जाते हैं ये भूल जाते हैं सर।
अच्छा।
भट्ट साहब बड़े प्रोफेसर हैं, कई बार याद नहीं करते ना छोटों को। So,
thank you very much.
Okay, then thank you very much.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir. See you soon.
Thank
bye
you.
bye. Thank you.
Okay, bye bye.